Just wanted to fresh legs. Remember Mpilo last week hurt his toe a bit. So I just want to give Nazam a bit of a start as well. He knows the Stormers too, so I've got a feeling he'll probably pull out a little bit extra as well. And then I'm expecting rain, so we have a heavy pack at the end, when the game. So you'll have Ruan for Mark, and Pilo's a bit heavier. Just an idea that I have that if it's going to go into the mud, because I heard it's going to rain tomorrow, and I've got a heavy pack at the end as well, which might help us. Oh no, there's no media mud. I mean, you guys are super sensitive. There's no media mud. You guys. He'll be back. He'll be back when we get back for our next game. I mean, obviously, it's one of those things, and I've said to you before. And I mean, his point of difference is his explosiveness and his speed. And for an athlete to have a tight calf muscle, or he's probably a red flag for us, because it's not one of those things you strap and you just run, because if it tears, then it can be out for a long, long time. And he doesn't then offer the thing that we really want him to do, is to be able to be explosive and quick. So he'll be. It's just time. He'll be ready by the time. We have 2 weeks off now after this game, as in no games, and then we get back. We play Leinster, so I'm fully sure that by Leinster he'll be ready to play. Oh, I mean, a little bit like they played against us last time, I expect. I think that the one thing about the Stormers is they play the same, whether it's rain, sun, shine. I mean, they've got something that works for them. They like to play that style where they can offload and they can run out of their own half. And we saw that they scored 5 tries against us last time, and one from a turnover that was deep in their own half. So I'm not expecting anything different. I think that whether it's raining or not, I think they're still going to play what's made them so successful in the last 4 seasons. Yeah, Marcel is also ready for Leinster. He's it's an HIA thing, and it's one of those things, Kubus. As long as he's not feeling 100%, or if he trains, he starts getting headaches or he feels dizzy, whatever. Those are obviously the signs that the medical staff are not happy to put a guy back on the field. So, and at this stage, we're quite lucky. I mean, that's almost the same team that I've been able to pick 2 weeks in a row, and this is the week 14 of our season, and I haven't been able to closely resemble the same 23. So to have, if Kumedi had started, and I don't want to do it for that reason, because you want to keep. But if Kumedi had started and Aka came in, would be one change to the team, which is now there's 2, but one's positional. I mean, one's a positional change. It's not a bad place to be after 4 rounds or 3 rounds of derby games. So also helps me just get confidence that the team that played for the last 3 weeks, first time in a long time, we got the same batch of 23. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, our scrum's the best scrum in the competition. I mean, it just is statistically the best scrum in the competition. And our lineout's been functioning. Having Robbie stay week after week after week has also helped him. Because let's be fair, our lineout was a bit squeaky for a couple of weeks, and that was because of the fact that Robbie was away, then he came back, and then he was away again, then he came back. And I'm talking about in the season, and he played a short amount of time for the box, which meant that our lineout couldn't really grow. So now he's been 3-4 consecutive weeks. He's been the starting hooker, and he's throwing to the same locks. So that obviously makes our lineout a lot more efficient than it's been. So to have a set piece of lineout and scrum like we've been having in the last couple of weeks, and it's going to rain, and it's probably going to be a bit slower underfoot, is obviously a thing we need to use in our advantage. But I say it again, Kubus, the weather and all those things don't just win you the game. These are just things we talk about when we preparing for a game like the Stormers. So, yeah, it is, but we're not under less pressure, you know. So, I mean, they, it's an incredible thing, Sim, because 3 weeks ago we're not going to make the playoffs, and we were, So again, it just depends on which hat you want to wear. And one thing the Stormers have done consistently against us is they've managed to find ways in which they've either won the game, got the game back on track after we've been up against them. But I sort of always feel like I repeat myself to the media: is it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, this tournament. And all we got to do is get to the end of the competition with 3 weeks to go and still be alive in the competition. And I'm talking about the playoffs. And then when hopefully we have Cameron and Marcel and Ruan Nokia and Johan Goos and all those guys back. I mean, we can't plan that it will be like that, but hopefully we'll have them all fit and available. And then I've got no doubt 3 consecutive weekends against big opposition with the team and the group we have. And we've proved it before that we can win those games. So this game doesn't, I'm not sitting here thinking this game is any different to last week at Lions, the week before against the Sharks, the week before against the Stormers. So it's not a case of one team's underdogs or pressure, or you feel like, whatever happens this weekend, we still got our destiny in our hands all the way into the playoffs. And that's all you want, is you want to make sure that you've got a chance to get to the last 3 rounds. And ideally, you want to play home, home, home. But there's only one team that can, as I said, there's only one team that's fortunate enough every season to do that. It doesn't always happen, as you've seen in the last couple of seasons, but who knows? Maybe we end third, fourth, and we still get a home final like it's happened before in this competition. So I just really mean it when I say I'm not feeling like the world's on my shoulders. We've had 3 tough weeks. This is the fourth week of a massive derby. Um, Derbies don't get any easier. And the Stormers have got their backs against the wall. And there's no doubt in my mind about that. They could, they lose 1 or 2 games now in a row. They could be out of the top 8. So, for me to sit here and go, oh no, I know what's coming. They're going to be as determined as the Lions were this time last week. I mean, all I heard about was the Lions needed to win and save their season and all that sort of thing. I've got no doubt that the Stormers, who are a massive club, and they've done well. They've won this comp, played in the final. I can't see that the team talks today, tomorrow from the coaches are going to be any different to what they've done the last couple of seasons. Yeah. Misfiring. Um, I think a lot of things happen. I mean, I think you look at them. I use this often with you, Sim. You look at Man City this year. They dominated football in the last 6, 7 years of the Premiership, and same coach, same group of players, barring a couple of injuries, and all of a sudden they don't look like the same team. I think it goes in cycles. I think sport goes in cycles. I think that teams start analyzing you anyway, and it's all about momentum. Sometimes that momentum goes for you, and it doesn't go for you. I don't think it's something like, what have the Stormers done wrong or what have they done differently. I think it all goes in cycles, and I'm for 1 minute not saying that their cycle's turning, but I mean it's not like they were significantly higher up on the log consistently in the last 3 years compared to where they are now. But that doesn't mean that's doom and gloom for them, because I mean we know, and I'm sure the media saw it. We've done a thing from our office to show you how the logs have looked in the last 3 seasons. And the very first year we played in this competition, I think we were second or third last after about 8 rounds, and we ended up playing in the final against the Stormers. So I think what we're doing in perspective, and I'm answering it by saying this, I don't think there's anything that's. I just think it goes in cycles, and it's the same as the Sharks. I mean, there was a massive thing for me the other day. I looked at the log, and this time last year the Sharks were last, and this year I think they're third or fourth. So it just shows you, Just shows you how quickly in one season they went from last to fourth. So I wasn't sure if that PR was done by our guy or by the Sharks guy, but anyway. Yeah, I have. And we'll let you know in the next month. Are you been for Villy? Percival. Look, I mean, I think it'd be unfair for me to tell me where you should play in the Springbok team. I think he's almost got 100 tests. I'm sure the one thing I have shown, and I'm not me as in, but I think one thing that has been shown is that Villy is actually good enough to play 10 at our level anyway. And he's good enough as a player to control the things that I want him to control as a general in the back line. So I'm answering it by saying I don't think it's right for me to say where he should play anywhere in the next couple of years. I'm just very happy that he can cover 10 as I thought he could. Because what it means now is that you don't necessarily always have to have a 10 on the bench. You can start him at fullback and leave him as a cover for 10 if something goes wrong. But I've always known that too. I mean, first of all you guys have watched him play. I think he was a 10 at Boland for a long time before he moved to 15 anyway. So it's not like I didn't know he could play 10. I watched him play 10 when he was a youngster playing in the Boland juniors. Um, so yeah, it's he's just very talented. I think you see now how important he is to us as well. Because when he's on song, then the team is on fire. You know. And I told you 2 weeks ago, I probably heard when I heard his groin was sore, I probably jumped the gun and took him off too early. I maybe against the Sharks should have thought about leaving him on, but I didn't know. I didn't realize that he could have played through, or that there was a risk that he would be okay, or there was a no risk if he would that he wouldn't get injured. So but he's shown last week again how important he is to us as well. So I've got no doubt tomorrow, having played there 4 weeks in a row now, having played with Emmy as his nine, that combination is going to get even better. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so glad you did. I was actually going to, I think I was going to ask them to do a press conference because I think it's important that, I mean, a press release as well, that from us, just to say that part of our job at the club is to produce people to represent the country at the highest level. It's no different to, when I coached the Springboks, then Gert Osmal went on to coach Ireland, and Alistair went on to become head coach of South Africa. And when I was in France, I coached with Scott Wisemantle, who coached England and Australia as a backs coach. And I coached with Stephen Larkham at the Brumbies, who ended up coaching Australia as a backs coach. Now, I'm not for a minute saying it's because I was there. But what's really nice is that when you work with people and you see them get opportunities at the highest level, and it also makes you feel proud that it's not just about the players, it's about how people can. Because I've got no doubt Lance would have dreamt about being involved with the national team, and now he's been picked as a physio for the Springbok team. And I've got no doubt because I've chatted to him. He's as proud as a player that's been called up to play his first test as well. So it's wonderful for him, and it's wonderful for the club because the more people that we have that are good at their jobs, and the more people that get into those higher positions, the better it is for everything. Recruitment, it's better for when he shares his knowledge back to us. I'm sure that he will still spend time with us. I'm not sure what the detail of his deal is, but even if he's away, I'm sure whatever he learns there, he will come back and help us and our players with whatever he's good at, or whatever he's learned. So, it's wonderful, first of all, that a guy like that is, and also he served his time. Eh? He's been around. It's not like he arrived yesterday. He was at Griquas. He's been at the Bulls for a long time. And that's also something that I'm really happy about, is that sometimes in rugby, serving your time and paying your school fees also leads to the fact that you get rewarded. Ah, it's always important to win. I mean, I know, again, I've always told you that we come to practice and we want to win, and especially big games, we want to win as well. And there's the conference as well. But, as I said to someone a couple of weeks ago, that, I mean, can you imagine we could finish second or third on the log and not win the conference? So, in the bigger scheme of things, is you want to win, and you want to win as many games as you can, and you want to make sure you win as many trophies as you can. And but you know, I'm not. I don't want to lose sleep tonight because it's all or nothing. Because it's not all or nothing in terms of the season. We still got so much more to achieve in the next couple of months. And I'm being really happy where we are because we've lost three captains. We lost our fly half, in Huissen. We lost Curtly Orense, one of the best backs in world rugby, to a sabbatical. And people don't talk about that. I mean, you tell me which other teams have lost the best backline player that they've seen in a long time and one of the best in the world, and we just make out as though it's just another day at the office. So I've been very happy with where we are. I'm very happy. The youngsters are coming through. We've got Jeff van Heerden, is still in his early 20s. He's playing lock for us. And when I announce him, it's not like anyone asked me Jeff van Heerden. I mean, it's almost like he's almost a seasoned campaigner. But I mean, he's 20 years old. He's playing in the Tide 5 for a Blue Bulls team, for Northern Transvaal regional team like this, which was unheard of. And when it did happen, many, many years ago, when 20-year-olds were picked like Ignatius Botha, it was headline stories. So I go back to what I'm saying. I'm very happy where we are. I'm very, it's not do or die. I want to beat the Stormers. I mean, I want to beat the Stormers. I can't have the media writing another 7 years of whatever. So I want to beat them, but that's because we all want to win. We want to make sure that we play as well as we can. But it's not, like you say, what does it mean? Well, it means what it meant last week to beat the Lions, and I'll tell you what it means, what it felt like to lose to the Sharks. It's not nice. So nothing changes. We just got to make sure tomorrow we're at home, and we've got to play as well as we can.
Pulled up this
week. Yeah, no, we don't preserving nothing. We just, that's the other thing, is that it's funny that you said that, because that's where I erred with Willie. I started to worry about what happened next week. I should have finished that game against the Sharks and left him on the field. And sometimes we all learn as coaches, we all learn lessons. And sometimes preserving what happens next week actually bites you this week. So when we start thinking about, we got him back next week and we can play him next week, and it ends up coming to catch you. I remember a story when I was at the World Cup in 2007. I bumped into some All Black staff in Marseille, and they had stayed behind in Marseille while the All Blacks went to Wales. They had to play France in Wales, in Cardiff. You guys all remember. And I know some of that staff that were there, and I asked them, why are you? And they said they're still doing a recce and getting everything in order for the playoffs from the following week. And you know what happened? They lost in Cardiff, and those guys then had to fly to Heathrow to meet the team so that they could go home. And it made me realize that sometimes you think too far ahead, it comes back to bite you. So when it comes to preserving and talking about all that sort of stuff, I think you realize you just got to control what you can control that week and then worry about what happens later.
Speaking of JF, interesting subject that arose as far as his player capabilities are concerned, coming through the junior ranks, etc. Personally, I think that you've got a gem there in your. To some extent, he sort of reminds me of Michael van Staden, demeanor.
Yeah. Well, he's been nominated, I think, as one of the junior players of the year, which again shows that he's been recognised from juniors as a talent. and he was at great college. We all know how important great college is in our country in terms of what they produce. And he's grown. I mean, he has grown in terms of getting older and wiser. But that goes without saying, someone, because what I've said to you many times is when you put a young lock behind, Wilco and Gerard, that means a lot. When you put him with Ruan Nokia, or you put him with, Kobus Visa, then that's the sort of thing that I think that I talk to you guys about all the time. It's a bit like the box setup. You can bring in youngsters, but when you've got Peter Steff and you've got, Kitsov in the days there, and Malcolm Marks and Malherbe, then it becomes a great blend of bringing some youngster in to actually to learn off those guys in pressure situations. And if I've seen how Jeff's done that in the last couple of months, there's no doubt that he's, like I said it earlier, and it wasn't being flippant at all. I'm saying he has a 20-year-old lock. I call him out every week. Let's be fair. I've been doing this job a long time. 20 years ago, if I'd picked a 20-year-old lock that's playing for Northern Transvaal, you guys would have said, geez, and no one says anything because that's how he's fitted in, and that's why I said we're in a really good place. Remember, we've signed some nice locks for next year. We've got internationals coming as well. The depth gets better. We've got another youngster coming through our junior ranks that I rate really, really highly. Ludwig, don't forget, is a lock. So, I mean, he can play lock, who's now doubling up as a 7. So where we are as a club I think is in a very good place. And a guy like Jeff probably epitomizes everything I've been saying in this press conference. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. He's growing. Got a captain who's 21 that's now leading 3-4 weeks in a row. Again, and I say it again, without no one's asking me, you sure Ludwig's all right as the captain? I mean, that just bodes well for a club that's going to get stronger and stronger in the next couple of years, which is basically the brief that I keep pushing with the players and our staff, is that we will get better. We will get better, and we will get stronger, and we will as the years go. I mean, Krobis, I look at Krobis, I just use example. Krobis is 25, 26. I've been here 5 years. He was a 21-year-old hooker. I mean, you look at him now compared to those days, it's like a different player altogether. And that's going to happen more and more with Jeff, with Jan Hendrik, with Ludwig, it's a wonderful place to be as a club. So I hope you're getting the vibe that it's very positive in Pretoria. We're looking forward tomorrow to hosting the southern team, and I just hope we play our best rugby, because we haven't really ever clicked against the Stormers, and for whatever reason, hopefully tomorrow is the day we click.
Going on that, playing the southern team, it's probably interesting and probably strategic, also very important to put the Stormers away, so to speak, because I've read some made that remark that it's important for the playoffs as well. Probably the Stormers and the Sharks should get your attention, your full attention now, rather than to play them off as a
well, some of the only advice I'll give you as an older campaigner is don't believe everything you read. Okay.
I don't.
Coach Jacks, obviously with all the new guys coming in, the younger guys that we've just spoken about, you guys have won 2 out of the 3 derby games, which we've spoken about a lot in this room. How does that go into after the break when some of the guys come back from injuries? These guys have obviously stepped up to the plate. They've won the games that they might not have won if we had the senior campaigners. So How are you going to balance that into going to the final stretch when guys are obviously putting up their hands, showing that they are good enough to compete at this level? How do you balance that, getting the new guys back with obviously a bit more experience?
The answer to that is, I suppose that's why it's called coaching. And I think you've played at the level, you know exactly. You've got to reward players who've pushed hard for the jersey. And that's, otherwise, whatever you say to them is lip service. And at the same time, they also understand that we've got to do what's needed. That's part of what we always talk about. We've got to do what's needed. And if you go through the acronym of what is needed, that's win. And sometimes when you go through what is needed, it might mean that you have to sit out. And it might mean that you don't play that week. And it might mean that you come back from injury and you need game time. So the rule is very different for you than it is for someone else. And that's basically what we believe in at the Bulls, is we do what's needed to win that game. And that means you might have to sit out, you might have to play, You might have to come back from injury. You might have to bite the bullet and play with an injury. I know it sounds crazy, but if that's what's needed, that's what we've got to do. And I go back to what I said to you earlier. I'm very happy where we are, because imagine that's not a problem to have when the lock comes back, who's the captain, and when the flanker comes back, that's the captain, and when your fly-off comes back, that's the best goal kicker in the competition, because he won the kicking thing last year as the goal kicker of the tournament. And what a wonderful place to be. Then you have to decide who you're going to play and who you're not going to play. So it's not something that I'm sure you understand, because you played at this level. It makes it easy for me, because if the guy's put his hand up and he's pushing hard, then I just reward him. Yes. No, no. No, but I'll be honest. I'll tell you something about Willie, is that he probably glad to hear what I'm going to tell you now, because I haven't told him. But I'm not going to use Willie every single week. Probably going to rotate him more after hopefully he gets 100 tests, and I think again, be great for him. After he's got 100 tests, he'll be a contracted player at the Bulls. I can't see him being around for 4 years again or another 2.5 years into the World Cup. But again, if he is, that's up to the national coaches. But for me, I'm going to try and use Willie the best I can to mentor on-field decisions, game management, etc., with guys like Devon, with guys like Kanan, with guys like Kirtley, those sort of players that I'm looking at keeping, and also their new players. I'm going to talk about them new players coming here. So he might play 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. He might play 1 week and 3 weeks off. I'll just look at the draw and see when we need him in terms of who we put as combinations. And also the other thing, which we'd never talk about, is the rotation of players based on rest periods that are enforced by SA Rugby. So if you have a player that's going to be away with national duty and then needs to rest, and Willie's not in the national setup after that, then Willie will play that block of games for us as well while the other guys are away, and vice versa. Is that if he is away, then other guys will play in his place. So it's also what I was saying, Ronaldo, about that easy now, is that some guys need rest, and when they had rest, then the other players, and it's so nice to know that if I have to give Robbie's off for 2 weeks because he needs SA Rugby, and I just play Jan Hendrik and Akker as the two hookers that weekend. And it's not like and they know that that they will get their chances over time as well. So it's not a difficult thing, Carl. What I mean is that it's a win-win for us, because the more of those guys we have around, the more growth there is. I don't want players like that sharing their IP with other players from other clubs across the world. I'd rather Billy share whatever he knows as a player to the youngsters in our group.
Nothing against
No, but I'm saying that. So, and that'll be done with a lot of other players. There's a lot of other players that, Marcel Coetzee, for argument's sake. Who would have thought Marcel Coetzee, after what happened the last 2-3 seasons, that we would be asking, why is he not playing this weekend? But it happens. Ulrich Lowe got injured. All of a sudden, Marcel's now, what's his name? Marco van Staden had an ankle operation, so he was out for X amount. And what we need here at the Bulls, is we need lots and lots of those guys that are happy to be in out, and just keep adding, to the generation that's coming behind them. Nee, ons gaan nie rooi tapuit uit, maar dit gaan blou wees. Ja, nee, die verwagting is gaan 'n groot game wees. I mean, ek sê dit weer en aanhoudend, en jammer dat ek dieselfde ding vir julle elke keer sê. As die Stormers Bulls game die grootste game in die seisoen is vir al twee spanne, dan het ek my werk gedoen. En dis belangrik vir my. Verstaan jy, die dag wat ons teen die Stormers speel en is net nog 'n game, of daar's net 10,000 mense, of jy weet, of mense stel nie belang nie om al twee spanne het nie 'n kans om iets te wen nie, dan sal ek vir jou sê, dan het ons 'n probleem. En ek praat namens ek en die bulle. So die feit dat almal daar praat en wat verwag ek? Ek verwag nog 'n Noord-Suid derby. Ek verwag nog 'n game waar ek seker dit gaan soos 2-3 weke terug wees waar dit nie gaan maklik wees vir elke span nie. En as dit so is, dan is ek bly, want dan doen ek my werk. Dan is ek presies waar ek wil wees. Ek wil die Bulls coach wees wat almal sê, jy weet, ons is nog steeds een van die toughste, hardste, moeilikste games wat hulle teen speel as hulle teen die Bulls speel. En veral die Stormers in die WP. Ja, nee, ek sê nou vir ek is baie bly. Ek dink deel van ons kultuur hier is om mense in ons stelsel vir die nasionale span beskikbaar te maak, en dit gaan nie net oor spelers nie, dit gaan oor 'n staf ook, so om 'n persoon soos Lance jy weet, die geleentheid te kry om met die bokke betrokke te wees en voltyds met die bokke. Hy het met die bokke gewerk, maar nou dat hy voltyds daar is vir ons ook 'n groot bate en 'n groot pluimpie vir hom ook. Dit beteken net hy het harde werk gedoen, hy's deur die stelsel en hy het nou sy reward gekry. Dankie. Thanks guys.